And welcome to Sasquatch Says. That is the new intro, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun making it. It was actually an accident. I was trying to do something for school, and I ended up making that. I love it. So that is our new intro going forward. Hope you enjoyed it. But as you can see, it is just me today. Unfortunately, Callie will not be making it. It doesn't seem. I don't have an actual definitive reason why, and it doesn't really matter. She's doing this stuff for us for free. So if she can't make it, she can't make it, and I don't pry. So that is what it is, and we are here to talk about your Avalanche. Let's go ahead and let's talk about your Avalanche. We are going to be going over the Kadri watch reaching day ad nauseum, maybe looking beyond Kadri, as it does seem like he may be going somewhere else, that there's new stats to measure goalies, and I found some very interesting things while looking through those numbers. Plus, Stanley Cup makes it to Finland. What happened on the Finnish leg of Sir Stanley's tour? We'll go over all of that as we go through today's episode. I hope y'all are ready for it because we got a lot of fun things planned for you today. So again, we're going to start off with Kadri because that is the most pressing issue on the Avalanche plate at this point, where we are just weeks away from training camp. They really need to get this last roster spot locked down. If Kadri's going to move on, he needs to move on. And it does seem like that might be the case. It does seem like the Islanders have taken the lead, we'll say. A lot of people are saying it's a lock, that he's definitely going to New York, et cetera, et cetera. I am not of that camp. I don't believe it is a done deal as of yet, even though the Islanders are one of the few teams with the cap space and the capital to go ahead and sign him away from the Avalanche. And would be a sad, sad day. But I would also like y'all to remember that you can't keep everybody. Some we talked about before free agency started. Some we talked about after free agency started. Callie's hit it on the head. I've hit it on the head multiple times. You can't keep every guy. But the fact is that they were able to keep all of the most important guys. Nathan MacKinnon is going to get a new contract. Gabriel Landeskog just got his long-term contract. Cale Makar is going to get a long-term contract, et cetera, et cetera. Those guys, the core. Kadri was a very important piece, but he is not really a piece of the core. Yes, he made a difference while he was on the ice, but the Avalanche can replace a Kadri. They cannot replace a MacKinnon, a Makar, or a Landeskog. Those guys are generational talents, come around once in a blue moon. You can't replace those guys. So the fact that Sakic is not willing to mortgage the future, as in tying up dollars in a guy like Kadri, who is already on the wrong side of 30, is going to be wanting that one last big contract, because this is going to be really the last chance he has if he signs anything more than a 1 or 2 year deal. This is going to be the last deal he has. So I completely understand Kadri wanting to get that bag. He wants to secure his future. He wants to make sure that he can maximize his earnings at the best possible time. He just had a career year and a contract year. Always the greatest way to get paid is to ball out when you're going to get a raise. This works in any industry. This isn't just sports. I don't know why people want to act like people performing when their contract is up is something exclusive for sports, and it's something you got to be wary of. Yes, but at the same time, it happens in every industry. When you've proved your worth, you need to get paid your worth. And if that happens to be that Kadri has to go somewhere else to find what he believes is his worth and that the market dictates, that's capitalism, baby. That's how it works. You don't get a whine about capitalism when it's convenient for you and then praise it when it's convenient for you. Like, that's not how things work. And that's one of the biggest problems with our society is nobody can understand that two things can be true and that nuance matters. If people could get those two things through their heads, our world would be a whole lot better place to live in. But until that day happens, this is what we live with. And so, Kadri, moving on to the Islanders. Again, I don't believe it's a lock like a lot of people want to try and make it out to be, but it is seeming to be the most likely destination at this point. So, sorry to break it to you, Avalanche fans. By the minute, it's looking more and more like Nazim Kadri is not coming back to Denver. And I'm just double checking again because these things happen quickly. I'm just double checking to make sure that while I'm talking, he doesn't sign a deal with somebody other than the Islanders or even the Islanders. But as I am looking right now, taking a double take and just double checking so I don't talk out my booty hole. There we go. Yeah, definitely not signed anywhere. So he is still out there available. There's still a possibility, yes, that he comes back to Denver. But again, by the minute, it's no longer even by the day or the hour. By the minute, it is becoming less and less likely that Kadri is coming back to Mile High City. So, with that being the case, who could land the best player left on the market, who is Kadri, since it seems more than just Canada and Colorado are off the table, our options, as me and Callie have said over the last few weeks, we really did not see him going anywhere other than Canada or Colorado. We did not see him sneaking anywhere else inside the continental U.S., but you can never really tell with these things. You can give your best guess, you can do your best assumptions, but they don't always prove out to be true. It looks like he is open to just about anywhere. If you're willing to go play for the Islanders, you're willing to play anywhere. That's obvious. If he's willing to play for the Islanders over the Avalanche, it's about the money. It is. There's no hometown discount that Kadri is going to take at this point. Uh, it's going to be whoever is the highest bidder. And again, right now, it's looking like it is the Islanders. But as we have stated before, the Flames losing both of their stars, I could see them taking a big swing at a guy like Kadri to try and appease the fan base and make sure that they still come showing up to the rink and giving some support and buying merchandise and all of those good things. I could see something like that happening. The Capitals might be a squeeze. That's a chance. We said before, Edmonton Oilers, that they really wanted to swing for the fences, and they made some trades to trim some fat around the edges of the roster. They could probably squeeze them in. But as of right now, the only two options I'm seeing outside of those are New York or Colorado. If the Avalanche are somehow able to convince him to come back, great. The more the merrier. We'd love to have him. I would, I hate to see him in any other uniform whatsoever. But hey, that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. And you just got to kind of move on and keep it trucking. You can't sit back and wallow in your own pity. You got to keep it moving. And just like that, we're going to keep it moving to looking beyond Kadri and who could replace him either in-house or on the free agent market. To me, the best in-house candidate is going to be Moose. The Moose moving up a line and taking over that center position, I think would be the perfect choice. There's other options like an Alex Newhouse, letting him move up, maybe slotting in right behind McKinnon. But to me, I like the veteran savvy and the physicality that Mikko brings to that position. And so that's why I believe he would be the best in-house candidate to go ahead and replace Kadri. Again, you could do a replacement by committee, letting each one of these guys, Rantanen, Newhook, etc. Myers is another possibility. Ben Myers, that is, the kid they picked up late in the season last year off of waivers. So there's a lot of options, not just externally, which is where everybody's wanting to go immediately, is just, oh, let's see who's on the free agent market, just so that way we know who they can sign immediately. Well, it's not always that case. You don't always have to go outside of the organization to fill a spot, especially when you have the dearth of talent that the Avalanche do. So, again, to me, most likely scenario is Miko moves up, but I could definitely see where a scenario where Newhouse comes in training camp and just blows the doors off the place and ends up taking that spot as well. So there's a definite possibility either one could happen, but I'm leaning Miko. So outside of the roster, who is the best option outside of that? Well, to me, that is going to be Evan Rodriguez of the formerly of the Pittsburgh Penguins. This is a guy that a lot of people might be like, "Oh, well, he's never really lived up to the hype or whatever." Well, doesn't that sound familiar? A center that was drafted fairly high, that had big hopes, big dreams, but never really quite lived up to them. But right before the Avalanche snapped them up, they were showing signs of turning the corner. Well, that sounds exactly like Nazim Kadri just a few short years ago. I do believe that Evan Rodriguez could be that next steal of a deal that Sakic is able to go out and snatch up for essentially nothing. This man has been living on 1 year prove it deals for the last couple of years. He has not signed a deal north of $2 million ever. Period. He's never made over $1.75 million in a single year. So you can't tell me that this guy that's been starving, just barely made it into the league in 1920, then finally got his first real stretch of action in 2021. I'm sorry, no, just got into the league 2021, got most of his action last year, 21-22, in Pittsburgh, where he played 35 games. And in those 35 games, it wasn't so much just the offense that he gives, because he had, I believe, somewhere less than 10 goals and less than 20 total points in those 35 games, but he also had 86 hits. That's the number that stood out to me. Those 86 hits, that physicality he can bring at the center position to replace Kadri and adding an element that Kadri never really could. Like, Kadri was always more physical than what you would assume his size would allow him. It's really what got him into trouble a lot, especially prior to this postseason. Was what really got him suspended a lot, was him being physical in the wrong way. Excuse me. Sorry, down the wrong hole. Anyways, Evan Rodriguez, that's one bugaboo of his too. No, I'm telling you, this story is way too similar, and I think it will play out identically. Maybe not as much offensively, but as of a more all-around skater from end to end. I think Evan Rodriguez, with the added size, he's just as fast, if not faster, than Kadri. The defensive output that he puts in and the physicality that he plays with would be a boon and a perfect fit into this roster. So to me, the best person left on, I don't care who else you throw out there, because it's either going to be their age, their play style, whatever it is, I'm going to shoot it down. I've looked through the entire list. Evan Rodriguez is the guy. If the Avalanche go outside of the roster that they have built now, that is the guy I believe deserves to get that call. And I'm just going to check for any comments. Nope. Okay, good. So not ignoring anybody. So now that you know who's best in-house, who's best out of the house, let's talk about some new stats. I found this new stat. It's called Goals Saved Above Average by MoneyPuck.com. This is a new metric that does its best to show you how many more goals a certain goalie either saves more than or less than a league average goalie. It's kind of like if you're a baseball fan, defensive runs saved. It's kind of something similar to that, but it's made again for hockey and goalies. And the reason this really caught my eye is this number did not exist until this offseason. And yet a guy Sakic went out and got shines on this list with his former teammate. So when it comes to goals saved above expected, actually, as a matter of fact, I'm going to share my screen so that way y'all can see me and see what I'm talking about. Boom. Make sure that showed up right. There we go. All right, there we go. I like that better even. That way y'all can really see. All right. So the reason this really intrigued me is y'all can see the 1 through 9 here, right? And you see who's number 1. 18.6 goals saved above expected or average. Igor Shesterkin. That is the starting goalie for the New York Rangers. Then when you go down here to number 10, look who's sitting there as a backup. That's right. The newest goalie in Colorado is the 10th best player in a goal saved above expected as a backup. I mean, the Rangers had 2 in the top 10 last year on their roster. Now, you want to see something even scarier? Look who's the second worst. The guy that just won the Stanley Cup. So if the Avalanche can win with the second worst goalie in the league when it comes to goals saved above expected, what do you think they're going to do with the guy that's 10th in the league? This is something that I am extremely excited for. And let's see if I can find, there he is, Pavel Francouz, the 16th worst goalie in the league. So the second and 16th worst goalie in the league brought the Avalanche to a Stanley Cup and won it. That tells you exactly how good the Colorado defense and special teams were this past season. They were generational. This is reminiscent of 2015 in Dove Valley, where the Broncos defense carried the ghost of Peyton freaking Manning to a Super Bowl. That is exactly what happened here. The defense and special teams of the Avalanche carried Darcy Kemper and Pavel Francouz to a Stanley Cup victory. And after looking at these numbers, it gets even better. When you look at goals saved above expected per 60, this is why I pointed out Georgiev was the backup. His number was at 1.5 only because he was a backup and wasn't able to accrue enough of ice time, really, to get to the 18.6 of the Igor Shesterkin. And I'm probably killing that last name, and I'm sorry, my guy. But hey, it is what it is. But here, it gets even better. Georgiev moves all the way up to third when you look at per 60 minutes, which is a game. So he is actually over 50% better than the guy he backed up per 60. And then when you look at this, save percentage on unblocked shots. This is the save percentage that a goalie has when the puck is not touched by anyone before it gets to him. And there again, Alexander Georgiev, 5th in the league, that whenever there is not a block or a screen, he saves the puck 96, almost 96.5% of the time, 96.4% of the time, to be specific, this man stops the puck if there is nobody to block it or deflect it. Another wonderful stat. You have got to be, if you are a goalie and you can't stop a puck that's just out in the open, you don't belong in goal. Period. I will say that again. If you are a goalie and you cannot block at least 95% of the unblocked shots that come through to you, you no longer belong in goal. So, this was me to show all of you that the whole worry about goaltenders is so overblown. Again, let me pull this back up to show y'all. The second worst goalie in the league just won a Stanley Cup per these metrics, per Money Puck, which got really good stuff. Y'all don't want to just take my word for it. Go to moneypuck.com. You can click right here on the about or the data pages here, and they will break down exactly how they come up with each one of these numbers. It's very solid, very clean, and very well thought out. So if you don't want to just take my word for it and you think these are just numbers being thrown together, I showed you how you can see it for yourself. And you see it right here again, moneypuck.com. You don't have to put in the goalies, blah, 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 just moneypuck.com. And this little thing pops up, the little menu pops up at the top, and just click about. And it'll tell you everything you need to know about where these numbers come from and how they calculate them. So let's go ahead and get that back out of here. So, down in the comments, let me know, does that help ease your worry about the goalie situation here in Colorado for the Avalanche? Or do you just not care? Do you just like, I got to see him on the ice? To me, it gives me a lot of reprieve. It makes me feel a lot better. The normal stats looked okay for Georgiev. But once you start diving into the advanced metrics and really start peeling back the layers, you start seeing exactly why Sakic was willing to let Darcy walk, knowing that he was able to go out and get a Georgiev. So I say we let the kid play and prove it. But I also say I think we're in plenty good hands with Georgiev and Francouz as his backup. And I think that with these numbers, it's pretty much guaranteed to me that through the tape I've watched, through the numbers I've read, Georgiev will be the starter. If Francouz becomes the starter, it will blow my mind. It really will. I love Frankie. I love what he does on a short basis. It's kind of like the love that Broncos country had for Bubby Brister for all those years, backing up John Elway. It wasn't because we thought Bubby Brister was going to be able to come in and win us a Super Bowl. We just believed in him enough that he would come in, keep the ship afloat until John could get back, and then take on his role of being the greatest of all time. Well, maybe the Avalanche have finally found their goalie of the future. If Georgiev matches his advanced metrics with his play on the ice, this could literally be the steal of the offseason. If Georgiev is able to go out and have a Calder Trophy type season, look out. I don't think anybody's going to be taking any calls from Joe Sakic moving forward, because he will be that guy that's just like, he's going to fleece you. You're going to think that you're getting something great in return. You're going to think that the trade was mutually beneficial. But when everything's said and done, Sakic has fleeced you. He has scammed you, and you enjoyed it while he did it. And this is why I love watching these offseason moves, and the way that my brain is wired. I love the work of a GM. It's why I love franchise mode in the show and Madden football and all these other sports games. The franchise mode is one of my favorite modes because I love the fantasy football like atmosphere of controlling what players are playing where and when and how and why. It's just that chess match that's done in the front offices that really intrigues me. I know I'm a nerd, I know I'm a sports geek, and that's probably why. But and I love these numbers. There's also another reason why I'm drawn towards GMs and what they do. The Joe Sackics, the George Paytons of the world, the jobs that they do are completely fascinating for me. And Sakic is one of the greatest. He is an absolute mastermind in that hockey front office. Whether it's trades, free agent signings, it just doesn't matter. Waiver wire pickups, everything that man touched turns to gold. And all of the Avalanche fans just need to sit back, enjoy it, relax, and understand that as long as Joe Sakic is in control, this franchise is going to do just fine. There's no issues, no worries to have. Just let the man do his magic, let him work in his lab, and he will come out with gold out of silver or copper for that matter. Somehow, some way, the man always makes a way. So, moving on from who should be in net, and again, I believe it should be Georgiev. We'll see through training camp and preseason, but just looking at the numbers overall in their career and watching the tape, Alexander Georgiev just looks like a starting goaltender. Frankie just looks like a backup. That's just the truth of the matter. It's all it is. So, moving on from who's in goal to where is Sir Stanley, the Stanley Cup makes it to Finland with Mikko Rantanen and Arturi Lehkonen, both big guys. That Arturi just got re-signed. Mikko got his big deal last year, and they're both going to be here for a while. So, what was weirder to me? A dog drinking and eating out of the cup or chilling in a sauna? Those might be the two weirdest sentences I've said about the Stanley Cup tour so far. Um, but yes, Mikko's dog drank and or ate out of the cup, and Arturi took it to a sauna. This is why 2 weeks ago when I was with Callie, I said this has got to be the nastiest trophy in all of sports. I don't think I want that job anymore. I know I said at the time that I might want the job to clean up Sir Stanley and move him around and things of that nature and be that guy that wherever Sir Stanley goes, I go. Because again, if I was, I'd be in Finland. I'd have been to Sweden. I'd have been to Canada and all these other places that Sir Stanley is going to go. That sounds great, but I don't want to clean up dog germ. I mean, that's just gross, y'all. The poor baby. I mean, we had babies drinking out of this thing. We got dogs eating out of it and drinking out of it. We got whole families eating freaking ice cream out of it. God, that is so gross. That's so gross. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a weirdo, whatever the case may be. But yeah, it's not it. That's not it. That's just not it. That's just gross. I don't care how many people have done. That's the point of actually. I do care that of how many people have done it before me. If I was an Avalanche player or any hockey player that won the Stanley Cup, the fact that so many people, I mean, you can clean it all you want, but there's way too many cracks and crevices up in that thing that no, that's just no way ever would you catch me drinking or eating anything out of that cesspool of a trophy. I love Sir Stanley. I've told y'all we did a whole segment on how awesome Sir Stanley and this whole process is. And again, it is awesome. I would love it. I would love to be one of the guys that got to carry it around, you know, all of those things. But there's no way I could eat or drink out of that thing, especially after watching these folk. And like I said, I mean, it's not even just humans. They're letting their dogs and their, no, no way, no way, no way, no way, no how. Not going to happen. I just can't do it. I don't understand why anybody would do it. Maybe y'all can explain it to me. So down in the comments, Twitter, whatever the case may be, let me know down there. What do you think? Do you think that it's gross? Do you think that it's okay? Would you eat or drink out of Sir Stanley, let me know right down there. I'd be happy to have that conversation with you. And with that being the case, I think this is a great place to end this live. Again, remember, hold on just a second. Let me get this up here. Make sure I don't know why I didn't put this up here. Anyways, there you go. Like and subscribe. Breaking Broncos, me and Dylan, right down tonight, 6:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. We'll give you a full hour of Broncos content. We got a lot to talk about then, about training camp, injuries, who's going to replace who, Timmy P going down. There's so much stuff to talk about. Football is back. We are only a matter of days away from having our first football game of the season. Yes, it might be preseason, but who cares? This offseason has seemed to have taken forever to finally get here, and we are going to enjoy all of the football that we can while we fill up the space waiting for the next season of Avalanche hockey as well. So, for the Sasquatch Says, the answer is 42. I'm Dan Wetstein. Don't question the blue.